Welcome, my name's Guy Walker. I was a professional cricketer for 8 years in Australia, playing with the Melbourne Renegades, the Melbourne Stars, the Australian Under-19s and the Victorian Bushrangers. I'm here today to talk to you about the first Test match, Australia versus India, and then also about the Test series. First up, I want to talk about Steve Smith being back. It is a massive result for Australia. 2 years ago, when India were out here and they won the first series on Australian ground, Steve Smith wasn't here. And it was a massive shock to Australian fans who had not lost a Test series against India on Australian soil ever. Steve Smith is back. He's hungry to get that series win against India back on Australian soil. He's back, he wants to score runs, but mainly he wants to outdo Virat Kohli. This first Test match is going to go a long way into who wins this series. Virat versus Steve Smith, first Test. It's going to be massive. If Steve Smith can get a lot of runs this series, it goes a long way to Australia winning the first Test match and the series. Australia had just missed him so much because he's the anchor. He's the absolute anchor of the team. It's been a little bit of a suspect batting order for the last couple of years, but Steve Smith, he's a freak. To know that there's a guy on your team that's going to score runs at number 4 just helps out the openers, the number 3, number 5, the blokes coming in after. They're not going to have to face newish balls because Steve Smith is going to chew the balls up. He's going to protect number 5, 6 and 7, which is massive. That's how Australia want to bat. They want to set up by having wickets in hand, tie the bowlers out, really tie that ball out, and then they want them other batters to come in after him to try to score quickly. That's how Australia want to bat against India. They're going to want to tie their bowlers out. Another issue at the moment for Australia is their opening batting position. It's been a little bit suspect over the last couple of years because David Warner hasn't been there. Warner's back now, he's batting really well, but unfortunately he misses the first Test. Australia had my former teammate, Will Bukowski, score 2 double tons in Shield cricket the first 2 rounds. He's scoring 2 double hundreds in a row against some amazing bowling attacks, he's incredible. He played the Australian A versus India A series and got concussed. Unfortunately, Will's had a lot of concussions and he's been ruled out of this series, which is really unfortunate because he would have made his Test debut. On the flip side of that, Australia are going to have to go with Joe Burns, a guy that in the last 10 innings of first-class cricket, he scored no more than 80 runs, averaging about 7.5. That is really struggling. There's a lot of pressure on Joe Burns. He just can't get a run. And what makes it worse now is the Indian A bowlers have got him out really cheaply a couple of times now. So they feel like they've got the upper wood on him. And it's a massive opportunity for the Indian bowlers to put pressure on Australia by getting Burns out early, the other opener out early, and then they want to try to target Steve Smith early on. If they can bowl a Steve Smith in the first 10 overs of a lot of these Test matches, it'll go a long way into India winning the series. Steve Smith doesn't want to come out at 2 for 10 off 5 overs. He wants to come in at 2 for 100 off 25 overs, and he wants the ball to be a little bit more weathered and old. But if the Indians can get to Marnus and Steve Smith early on, I think it'd be a massive chance for them to win this series. I would probably say that Matthew Wade at the moment will open up with Joe Burns. I don't know what the team is yet, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see what the Australians go for. And it's a massive opportunity, like I said, to try to get and target them Australian middle order batsmen. They're going to have people like Trav Head in there. If they can get to him early, Australia could be on the back foot really quickly. Also Cameron Green, he's someone that we're going to talk about. Cameron Green now is 21. I remember seeing him as a 17-year-old playing for Western Australia, turning around and looking at this big 6'5" bloke bowl 140 kilometres an hour, and then I thought, alright, he must be a bowler. He came out to bat at number 4 and got 100 against us straight away. I've never seen an all-rounder with this much talent. He's 6'5", he bowls 140 kilometres an hour, and he's averaging about 60 in Shield cricket, which is absurd. So he's debuting. He'll bat 6. I think he'll only be able to bowl a certain amount of numbers. Knowing the Australian system, he's still a little bit injury prone. He might be on bowling conditions where he only might be allowed to bowl 10 overs. But who knows? I don't know, because after his concussion as well, they might rest him a little bit and just get him to bat. But although he's a serious talent, I think India have the chance, if they can get through the openers quickly, if they can try and remove a Smith or Labuschagne quite quickly and target people like Trav Head and Cameron Green, it'll be a massive in this first test if they can do that. If they can bowl well and bowl the ball in the right areas, they're a massive chance to actually get a few early Australian wickets and knock over the Australian batters for not many runs. And that'll be massive for their batting lineup. Then they're going to want to try and get Australia in the field for as long as possible to tire them out. That'll be Virat Kohli's what he's saying to the batters now is that keep the Australians out in the field, let Paddy Cummins, let Josh Hazlewood, let Mitch Starc bowl 30 overs each this first test match in the first innings. Let's tire them out for test number 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever, or the whole test series. So it'll be massive to see how Cameron Green goes. If he fails, if a couple of their batters fail, I don't know who they go to. I really don't know who they go to at the moment. There's not a lot of people scoring a lot of big runs. So Indians bowlers are going to determine this test match. If they can try and get early wickets and try to really subdue Steve Smith, they'll win the test series. Australia are desperate not to lose another test series to India. They don't want to lose 2 in a row. Obviously, it's never been done before. And like I said, watch out for the Steve Smith versus Virat Kohli battle, and watch out for the Tim Payne versus Virat Kohli battle. I reckon there might be a couple of words exchanged between them, because what I love about Virat so much is he's the first pretty much player, but also captain, to go back at the Australians, and they respect him. Normally, the Australian cricket team are a little bit arrogant, they're a little bit in your face, and normally the opposition pull back and they go, nah, I don't want to deal with this. But Virat, he goes back at them, and I love it. And also now is he's got a lot of his Indian teammates, like Pant, like a couple of the bowlers in the Indian A team. They're in the Australians' face, and the Australians aren't used to it, and they respect it. So it's going to be very interesting to see how hard Virat goes. He's only playing 1 test match. I have a feeling he's obviously going to be hungry for runs, but Virat is going to want to go out there and really get to the Australians' throats. I've got a feeling he's going to be quite vocal. He's going to be out there. He's going to be wanting heads. And this first test match, Virat is going to want to set a standard. He's going to want to go out there and show that, you know what, boys, when I miss these next test matches, you boys are here. We've set a statement. Go hard at the Australians and don't give them anything. Be brutal. Also, the quicks need to be brutal. I don't know if you saw in that Indian A versus Australia A game, to the Australian lower order, the Indian A bowlers are brutal. Bouncers, trying to really target the Australian batters to try to make them feel uncomfortable. I've seen some people on the side say that's not good enough and India shouldn't be doing that. And I've seen some people go, that's really good, put them under pressure. I'm on that side. You know what, if you can ruffle a few feathers in the Australian bowling team, if you can get blokes like Hazlewood, Cummins, Lyon, and Starc when they're out there batting, you can bump them. Bowl a lot of chin music at them, bowl a lot of bounces at them, because they'll be uncomfortable. Not a lot of teams do it because they don't want to get them, the Starcs, the Cummins, the Hazlewoods bowling many bounces at them, so the bowlers don't bounce them. But in that Indian A test match, they were really bouncing and making it uncomfortable for the Australian bowlers when they batted. They've got to do it again. Put them under pressure. Make the Australian bowlers who bat under pressure. Don't bowl too full to them straight away. Really show your intent. Show your intent and really get it up them. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how physical, how vocal the Indians come out this first test match, because I've got a feeling that Virat, he's going to want his troops to really stand behind him and go hard at the Australians. So let's see what happens this first test match. I think it's going to be really, really interesting. I'm really wanting to see Virat come out in the field first day, and I want to see how vocal he is. This test match is going to set up the whole series. The precedent starts here. Who's going to win?